You are stupid. I am not stupid. This is Conversations here on YouTube at Sifu and Ben, you ignorant slut. I want to talk about your last video where you were maybe perplexed on how we would go from our current corrupt system of trade, our monetary system, to a more equitable system of trade. Really, we can't figure that out. It's 2023. I mean, crypto tried, but it was just too similar to the system that we already had. In other words, open to corruption. I think the big difference was decentralizing, All right, whatever. In the 80s, I was in LA, part of a system of trade. It was called Let's. It might even still exist online or something. But the government came in, shut it down eventually. But Let's was a computerized managed system, again in the 80s, computerized managed system where people could barter. And it was not a direct barter, but an open barter within the community. And it worked on the opposite of what we have now, which is if you have a lot of debt, that's bad. Well, so to speak. The more debt you had, the better standing you were in. I won't go into Let's, but it was a phenomenal system and it worked. And that was back in the 80s. Man, we have the technology, we have the wealth that we can create an equitable form of exchange. We can do it. Like I said, once God was on the bill, that tipped the hand right there that there was something nefarious going on. Now, and regarding the gold standard, we couldn't even go back to a gold standard because there's too many of us and there's not enough gold, right? So we really have to embrace a system that is fair for everyone. And remember, just like language and just like a lot of things in life, these are our own constructs. We all agree to use these systems. So right now, we agree to prop up a corrupt system. We're agreeing to prop up a corrupt system rather than agreeing that we just need to move to a more equitable system of trade. All right, so that's all I'm going to say regarding that. If you think I missed something, please let me know in the comments or in your next video. The other thing was that you brought up, the other topic was life isn't fair. Now, this all depends on if you're giving broad stroke advice or fine stroke advice. You know what I mean? It's almost like this too. Like there's advice that you give to somebody with resources and strength and power. And then there's advice that you give to people that don't have any resources, strength, or power, right? Two different sets of advice, typically. And so you have to be careful in our white world. And let's make no bones about it, some people consider me white. So, in our white-driven world, you have to be careful of saying, hey, life just isn't fair. There are some things that we can accept the disparity. Maybe you're not as smart as me, or maybe you're not as good looking as me, or maybe you're not as strong as me, or tall as me, or those are disparities we have to accept. Yeah. But the disparity that is just untenable is certainly the disparity that creates inequity between our fellow human beings. Now, I'm not saying that we should be living in the Garden of Eden here. There's always going to be mental illness and issues. But it's how we deal with those issues that define us as humans, right? So, no, life isn't fair, and we should work to make it as fair for our fellow human beings as possible as we can. So, just throwing your hands up and saying, well, life isn't fair. Come on, man. That's what I would call non-empathetic bullshit, right? Listen, if you have homeless people and you have great disparity between humans, then you're going to have problems. You're going to be stepping over bodies. You're going to be stepping over poo. You're going to be dealing with theft and murder and assaults and all these issues. Now, does that make it all go away? No. Of course not. But we can certainly do something about the numbers, right? So, all right. And the last thing I wanted to bring up, I'm sneaking one in there. I made a video regarding my experience with Pamela Anderson. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. It's the video that got the most amount of hits. And I should have known better. Whenever you even hint towards saying something negative about a celebrity in America, boy, are you going to get it, right? And so let me just make something clear. And that is, that video was my experience with Pamela Anderson and not a judgment on Pamela Anderson. I was reflecting on my experience and being honest about my experience with Pamela Anderson. And I even made it clear that it wasn't a judgment on Pamela Anderson and that she, at this particular junction in her life, could be a wonderful, beautiful, fabulous person. I was specifically pointing out in that video how corruption, specifically scumbag Hollywood, Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, rather, right? I was commenting on how corruption makes us all ugly. Not just Pamela, but all of us. And how that we have to fight that corruption in order to maintain our God-given beauty, so to speak. All right, I hope I made that clear. And Ben, I hope my response to your video was poignant, significant, worth listening to. And if you think I've missed anything, of course, put it in the comments or put in your next video. Again, this is brought to you by SifuZ.com. SifuZ.com has all of my original music, my art, my martial art, which is Wing Chun. If you'd like to donate a one-time donation to the cause here, you can go to paypal.me/SifuZ. If you'd like to join us training in Wing Chun, you can do that over at SifuZ.com and join us over at Patreon and choose a level in which you'd like to train, and we'd be happy to have you. One of the things you can really do to help out is to subscribe and thumbs up and comments. Yeah, so even if you don't have a couple bucks to spare to help with this particular project, you could certainly help by subscribing, commenting, and all that good stuff. All right. You're stupid. Me, I'm not stupid.